Hey guys, sorry for not uploading today. I will be uploading the new part of this video. Expect the new series 1. I'm thinking of making a second channel for Naruto. What if you comment below if you guys agree? Also, I see it that we have decided to do what if Naruto was a legend. Now I will let that cut poll stay up there for a little while, and that is it. Let me know if you want more questions and enjoy this video.
Chapter 7, Cards of Fortune. Katsuki Bakugo wasn't in the mood for any type of bullshit. He just discovered his friend is insane and a villain, has way too much power, God knows from where he got those quirks, and he thinks he is some sort of god. Just fucking great. He was making his way to UA after the internship was done when a black man with dreadlocks, robes crossed on his way. What? Katsuki asked, annoyed, and the man looked at him. Are you by any chance Katsuki Bakugo, he asked, and Katsuki growled. What if I am? The man sighed in relief. Thank goodness. Let me introduce myself, my name is. Fuck off, Katsuki said, passing by him. Wait, the man ordered, and Katsuki showed him the finger. After class. Yo Baku bro. Want to go to the arcade with us? Kirishima asked as they left the campus, followed by Eureka, Mina and Ilda. I'm not in the mood, hair for brains, Katsuki simply said, and Kirishima pouted. Come on. Don't be like Katsuki Bakugo. Wait, Katsuki stopped, recognizing the voice, and groaned. Following them, there was the same man running to them. Who is he? Eureka asked, and Katsuki shrugged. No idea. Has been following me since morning, Katsuki explained as he got in front of the group. You need to listen to me, Katsuki. My name is Muhammad Avdul and I don't give two shits who you are. I'm going home, Katsuki said, and Avdul narrowed his eyes. You were friends with DIO, right? Avdul said, and Katsuki stopped to glare at him. Don't say his name to me, you motherfucker. DIO, who's that? Mina asked, and Avdul looked at Katsuki dead at the eye. I know you knew him. And I know important information about him. Can we talk somewhere private? Your friends can come if you wish. Katsuki narrowed his eyes and turned around. Follow me. Bakugo's residence. This tea is delicious, Avdul praised Katsuki as he and the UA students were sat on the living room. Katsuki didn't care about the praises of this man. So, how you know about him? Avdul nodded. Simple, because DIO tried to recruit me for his plans. Hold on. Who's this DIO guy? Kirishima asked, and Ilda nodded. Is he some sort of villain? Katsuki. How can you be related to someone like that? DIO is not human. He is monster, Avdul said cryptically, and the attention turned to him. He gave away his humanity to gain power, and he plans on use that power to control the world. Kirishima gaped. Is he that strong? I am afraid I don't know. But his mere presence is overwhelming. Let me explain. I was walking to my home when he crossed the street in front of me. At first, I didn't give it a thought, but when he said my name, I noticed it. The raw power coming from his words made me shake. A weaker man would have fallen for his false promises of greatness and money, but I knew better, because DIO and I share the same power. Explain, Katsuki demanded, and Avdul nodded. He made a pose with his arms and screamed. Magicians read. A humanoid creature, with a bird's head, came out of fire and floated behind him. This is called a stand. And DIO also has one. Stand. Is that like a quirk? Eureka asked, getting more and more confused. Yes and no. Both stands and quirks give the user power, but stand can only be manifested by the person's soul and not by its anatomy. After that, Avdul explained what stands are and how they work. And how does that bastard even have one? Katsuki roared, and Avdul pulled from his coat something he thought he would never see again. A broken golden arrow. Any person stabbed with this, as long he or she has a strong will, shall be granted a stand representing a face of their quirk or personality. Also, people stabbed with this will lose their quirk and be replaced by the stand. Memories from that day in the museum came back. All this was his fault? Katsuki thought. Shaking his head to get those thoughts out, he looked at Avdul. So, why were you looking for me? If you expect me to give you more info, I'm sorry, but I came because you can defeat him. Hold on, there is way too much info here. Why you think Baku bro can beat this DIO? Kirishima asked, and Avdul pulled out tarot cards from his robes. I saw it in the cards. It is the destiny of Katsuki Bakugo to defeat DIO and save the world. Katsuki liked the tone of that. So, I just have to blow the fucker up? Should be easy. Avdul nodded with a stern look. Not quite. You see, DIO, because he is not human, he doesn't get injured easily. Unless you are All Might, I doubt you will even scratch him. And even though you can punch his stand, the contact will probably break your hand if you are lucky. Ilda was moving his arms in a robotic way. Then how do we beat him, Mr. Avdol? Avdol closed his eyes. Quirks can't, a stand will beat him. Katsuki's eyes widened in realization. He looked at his palms and said, you want me to give up my quirk? Avdol nodded solemnly. I am afraid that's the only way. Okay, this is ridiculous, Mina said. I can believe what you say, but ask him to give up his quirk for something he might not even know how it will turn out. As his classmates started to convince Avdol this was a bad idea, Avdol kept looking at Katsuki that was staring at the arrow. He gave a brief glance at Avdol, who nodded. Katsuki grabbed the arrow and stabbed it on his bicep. He hissed in pain and his classmates looked in shock. Baku bro, Kirishima said as Katsuki managed to create one last explosion from his palm. He glared at Avdol. Done. Now what? We name it, he said, pointing at the light pink humanoid creature, with two flat triangular shapes on the side of its head, cat-like eyes floating behind Katsuki. It worked, Katsuki said almost in relief. So, what can you do? The stand raised its finger and started to make a circular motion with it before he touched the table with it. It made motion to get away from the table. They complied and the stand made a fist, raised its thumb and pressed it against his knuckle. And the table exploded, sending them back a bit. That was amazing. Dangerous, Ilda and Kirishima screamed at the same time and Katsuki's eyes widened in amazement. That was stronger than any of his other explosions. Now for its name, Avdol said, and Katsuki smirked. It is my Killer Queen, the stand that will defeat DIO. Okinawa. You called, Dio-sama. Dio looked at Endul, Prosciutto, Pesci and Risotto. Nero came into his room. Yes. Tomura asked me to help him on a little mission he had, but I am not interested on going. You four will. Endul, you're in charge. Chapter 8, How to Stand Up. A stand is way different from a quirk. Katsuki leaned that rather quickly. He has little to no control of the range of explosions the bombs that Killer Queen creates. He can transform any object, inanimate or not, into a bomb. If someone or something touches the bomb before detonation, the charge will be transferred. There are a lot of things to explain. But he also discovered he has another type of bomb, that he named Sheer Heart Attack. At difference of the rest of Killer Queen, Sheer Heart Attack is only attached to his left hand, and it is an automatic bomb that will charge at the warmest target in vicinity, and the explosion will be the same size as the body temperature. But he can't control it, so it will just rush into the warmest target, either be an ally or enemy. He was falling asleep as they walked out of the bus and into the camp area. Avdol trained him for the little time before he came into the camp, and he didn't let him rest until he could call Killer Queen at will. And he still can't control the ratio of his explosions, for fuck's sakes. They were told by the Pussycats that they will have to use their quirks to get to the mountain base before 12:30 p.m. They won't be served lunch. From the base, multiple explosions could be seen. Pixie Bobo turned to Avdol, who was by her side. So, you will train Katsuki Bakugo how to use his, how is it called, stand? Avdol nodded yes. Right now, Katsuki can harm more than he can help with his stand. Luckily, I can teach him in this period of time how to use his stand correctly. Later, 5:30 p.m. Class 1A arrived, dirty but fine. Katsuki first thing that he sees is Avdol, with his arms crossed. Katsuki, you arrived late. Katsuki growled, fuck off Avdol. There were monsters back there. Compared to DIO, those monsters are nothing. Besides, I saw how you carelessly made everything blow up. Were you trying to kill your classmates? I had it under control. Katsuki defended himself and Killer Queen appeared behind him. Avdol sighed. See? You still cannot control your stand. Until you have more control of your emotions, I recommend you not use it. He turned around and walked to the cabin. Tomorrow we will continue your training. Denki blinked confused. Bakugo, who was that? Katsuki sighed. It is a long story. Is he related to your new quirk Hitoshi Shinso? A new student of class 1A asked, and Katsuki nodded. Yes. He gave me my stand. Next day, 5:30 am. Stop slacking, Katsuki. Avdol screamed at the sleepy Katsuki. You know what fucking hours is it? Katsuki yawned as suddenly the temperature rose up. Magician's red was floating behind Avdol. Call your Killer Queen, just in case of training you shall use it. Katsuki nodded as Killer Queen appeared behind him. We are going to try to control the power of your explosions. That way, you won't hurt any allies or bystanders with it. Katsuki nodded. And how are we going to do it? Avdol pointed at the trees behind him. I want you to make the base of the tree explode, to make the tree fall. Katsuki nodded. I can do that. Killer Queen raised its index finger and touched a tree. Katsuki made a fist, raised a thumb before bringing it down, making the whole tree explode. Fuck, Katsuki cursed, and Avdol remained with his stoic face. Do it again, Avdol ordered, and Katsuki did it, only for him to fail again. Hours later. Again, Avdol ordered, as Katsuki panted. They were running out of trees, and Katsuki still haven't made one fall. Can you at least give me an advice? Instead of just saying again, Katsuki snapped, and Avdol scratched his chin. Had you tried, instead of making the whole tree a bomb, make only a small part of the tree a bomb, Avdol suggested, and Katsuki thought about it. After a few seconds he nodded. Killer Queen opened his palm, and chopped the tree by its side. Katsuki detonated the bomb, and this time, the missing part of the tree, which was small, exploded, sending the tree flying away. Katsuki grinned. Fuck yeah, I did it. Avdol smiled at him. Good job, Katsuki. He looked at the hiding sun. We should go now. It is time to go and eat. What's in the menu? You tell me. In the end, the students had to make the food, and they made curry. Katsuki caught Kota leaving and decided to give him some food. He followed him to the mountain, where Kota was sat on the border. Hey kid. Kota glared at him. Go away. Katsuki ignored that and sat by his side. I brought you food. The curry is pretty good. Kota grabbed the plate and stared at it. They sat in silence. Katsuki no used in handling kids. Look, I know you hate heroes and all, but he was suddenly kicked on the head by an invisible force, sending him to the wall. What was that? Kota asked before someone grabbed him by the back of his shirt and lifted him. Katsuki Bakugo, the man holding Kota, who slowly became visible again, said. He had a black hoodie type thing over his head, with small metallic baubles hanging from the end, a bang of silver hair reaching his eyebrows. Black sclera eyes with red iris. He was bare-chested, with a leather cross on his chest. His pants are striped black with white. Come with me or the kid dies. Katsuki stood up, glaring at him. Who the fuck are you? He demanded. The man smirked. My name is Risotto Nero, and I came in name of Dio-sama. Katsuki growled and screamed. Killer Queen. At the forest. Eureka immobilized her mysterious attacker, a blonde girl with lots of knives, and held her on the ground. She was about to interrogate her, when water came from the bushes trying to stab her. Tsuayu threw her tongue and managed to make Eureka move in time, only getting cut on the cheek. Far away, Endul smiled. As long that you move, I will find you. And when I found you, Jed will kill you. At the base. I'm going to kill them. I have to kill them like the cold-blooded assassin I am, Pesci kept muttering, and his brother Prosciutto sighed. Instead of muttering about it, do it, Pesci, he said coolly. He summoned his stand, a humanoid creature, with no torso and long arms, eyes all over its body. Pesci flinched at the mist it started to emit. Don't worry, lil brother. As long that you are fresh, you'll be fine. Pesci nodded and took a drink from a cold water bottle. Now, let the Grateful Death do its job. Once they are all old and weak, we shall strike. Inside, the mist was entering. As Kirishima drank a cold soda, Todoroki made ice sculptures, and Manama from Class 1B was drinking cold water. Next chapter, Enemy Stand Users. Chapter 9, Enemy Stand Users. So, you also have a stand, Risotto said as he saw Killer Queen float behind Katsuki HMPH. Even so, I doubt you can do anything against Metallica. Katsuki glared at him. Let go of him, he ordered, and Risotto smirked. He threw Kota to the side and walked towards Katsuki. Killer Queen went towards Risotto and punched down. Risotto jumped out of the way as Killer Queen fist went into the ground, removed its fist as Katsuki detonated the bomb, creating an explosion, blowing Risotto a few feet away, landing on his feet. Katsuki was going to order Killer Queen when he felt immense pain on his right thigh. He looked down and saw how a scalpel was coming out of there. The scalpel fell to the ground as Katsuki grabbed his leg in pain. Risotto smirked. You see now? The power of my stand is way superior to yours. Katsuki jumped to his feet and aimed a punch at Risotto that sidestepped. He placed his arms behind his head as he made another scalpel came out of the back of the hand of Katsuki, making him scream of pain. Katsuki fell to one knee, as he held his bleeding hand. He glared at Risotto before he kicked him on the head, sending Katsuki to the wall. Risotto sighed disappointed honestly. How Dio-sama described you, I was expecting a challenge, guess I was wrong. He walked closer to Katsuki, as Killer Queen appeared, and chopped a bauble of his hoodie. Risotto smirked. Is that? Katsuki smirked as he pressed the detonator, making a small explosion next to Risotto's face. Risotto screamed holding his right eye that was injured. With his good eye, he glared at the smirking Katsuki. Were you saying? Katsuki said as Risotto made a gesture with his hand, and Katsuki felt how, from his stomach, something sharp was piercing him. He looked down, to see a scissor coming out of his abdomen. Risotto breathed hardly. I am going to give you the pain you inflicted on me, ×2. Metallica, he screamed as Katsuki felt something on his mouth. He bent over as he started to puke out iron razors. He looked back at Risotto, who turned invincible again. Dio-sama ordered me to take you alive, but he never said how alive you should be, Risotto said, and Katsuki growled. At the forest. Tsuayu dodged another attack from the deadly water that crashed against a tree and broke it. Tetsu, a student from Class 1B, was looking around, to see from where the next attack will come from. Where the hell is this guy? What kind of quirk is this? Don't let you touch you. It can pierce us, Eureka said, and Tetsu nodded as the water shot towards him. He aimed a punch at it, but in the last moment, the water moved to the side of the fist, and pierced his right shoulder. Tetsu fell to the ground with a scream. The water landed next to Tetsu, and was about to finish him, when it heard another person, and shot itself towards Itsuka from Class 1B and pierced her giant hand. Itsuka saw how the water was about to hit her head, before Eureka grabbed her and pulled her away. It landed next to Tsuayu, that wasn't moving or making sound, and surprisingly, it ignored her. That gave Eureka an idea. Nobody move or make sound. They decided to do that, and surprisingly, the water stopped moving. From his position, Endul frowned. They all become quiet all of the sudden. The UA students were watching with worry the liquid that morphed into a hand that looked around. Behind them, they heard a giggle. You know, if you stay like this, cutting will be easy. Eureka's eyes widen, she forgot about her. She pulled her knife and tried to stab Itsuka that was forced to move. Endul smirked. There they go again. At the base. What happened? Manama screamed as he saw all his classmates age up because of that mist. Only he and 2 of Class 1A, Kirishima and Todoroki, didn't turn. So, 3 managed to survive. Ability or just dumb luck? Prosciutto asked as he entered the room. What had you done? Kirishima demanded as Todoroki prepared himself by covering one of his side in ice. Prosciutto snapped his tongue. That explains a lot. But it doesn't matter. The Grateful Death go. His stand started to walk towards them and it extended its arm trying to slap Kirishima that hardened his skin, but once the hand of the stand touched his arm, it aged up. Kirishima backed up, and hit the desk, making the soda on it fall on his arm, the cold liquid, making Kirishima's arm look young again. Manama thought he discovered his quirk and got an idea. The cold disactivate the quirk, he screamed with a grin, and seeing Prosciutto frown, he laughed. What? Was it that hard for 2 students of the best class? He mocked, and Todoroki rolled his eyes. Not now, he said, placing his hand on the floor, freezing it all, and slowly the students started to become young again. Manama grinned. Now it is my turn. He jumped and slapped Prosciutto on the face, expecting to get control of that monster. When the monster didn't move, he blinked. But I copied your quirk. Prosciutto punched Manama, sending him to the ground. You little punk, he cursed, reaching a gun from the inside of his vest. You're going to pay for that. Kirishima got in front of the shaking Manama and received the bullet, but due to his hardened skin he deflected it. Kirishima dragged Manama back with Todoroki. That's a stand, right? Kirishima asked Prosciutto that smirked. That's right. And your lame quirks can't do anything to me. As long the Grateful Death is here, you will all die. A stand is that thing that Katsuki has now? Todoroki asked, and Kirishima nodded. Yeah, and Avdol said that only a stand can do real damage to another stand. And how do we get one? Manama asked in panic, and Kirishima narrowed his eyes. Avdol has this golden arrow that gives stands, by giving away your quirk, but there is a chance it won't work. Manama gulped and Todoroki glared at the stand that it was slowly making its way towards them. The temperature was again increasing and the effect of the stand was starting to take place. "Where is this arrow?" Kirishima and Todoroki turned to Manama, who had a face of determination, even though his hands were shaking. "It should be in the teacher's room. You don't plan to?" Manama didn't let him finish. He grabbed his bottle of water, poured on top of him and screamed, "Distract him," he said, rushing past Prosciutto. Prosciutto scoffed. "What an idiot," he said, aiming his gun to the back of Manama. He stopped, noticing his feet were colder. He turned around to see Kirishima aiming a punch at him. He moved his head to dodge. "Go after him, the Grateful Death," he ordered the stand that left the room. With Katsuki. Katsuki was against the wall as Risotto was stomping him. Risotto glared at Katsuki as he felt water fall on top of him. "What now?" he demanded, and turned to glare at Kota that was shaking in fear. Let go of him," Kota screamed, and Risotto walked towards him. A scalpel formed on his hand. "Oi bastard," Katsuki said behind him, and Risotto glared at him. What? He was interrupted by a punch from Killer Queen, making him stumble. The stand grabbed him by the neck, lifted him and started to rain punches on his face, before throwing him to the wall. Risotto coughed blood as Katsuki limped to Kota. "Go and warn everybody," he ordered, and Kota nodded. Risotto stood up shakily. "I won't allow it," he screamed, rushing to Kota as he became invisible. He smirked while no one saw him. No matter if he can still move, like this, he will never. Sheer heart attack. Find him? He looked back to see a little RC car, with a skull on front, rolling at high speed at him while screaming, "Look this way." The RC car jumped towards him, surprising Risotto as Katsuki detonated the bomb. Risotto was sent flying past Kota and landed with a thud, completely knocked out, with multiple wounds on his body. Katsuki fell to his knees as Kota rushed to help him stand up. Kota barely stood up with Katsuki on his back and started to drag him back to the base. At the forest, the deadly water and the girl, which name is Toga, were still attacking the UA students that dodged how they could. But they noticed something. Sometimes, the water will attack Toga. It can't difference between friend or foe, Itsuka said as she dodged the water again. "So what? It isn't like we can make it attack her." Tetsu screamed as from the background was heard. Magician's Red. An ANJ made out of fire was sent crashing to the water, vaporizing part of it. With Endul, he hissed in pain as burnt marks appeared all over his right arm. Eureka's eyes widened. "Mr. Avdol." Avdol nodded with a glare to the retreating water. "Guess that injured the stand user enough for him to retreat. I apologize for not coming earlier." Eureka nodded. "Don't worry, Mr. Avdol, you arrived just in time." She smiled. "Where are the others?" Avdol frowned. "There are still more enemies around. Don't put your guard down," he ordered. "Help!" They heard Kota scream and turned to watch Kota barely carrying Katsuki on his back. At the base, Manama held in his hands the golden arrow that Kirishima said. Why are his hands shaking? He shouldn't be afraid. This is the chance he always wanted, to have a power to call his own. The door was broken as the Grateful Death entered the room. Manama gulped and with a scream, he stabbed the arrow on the palm of his hand. "Come on. Do something," he screamed once the arrow was removed and started to move his hand wildly in the air, not noticing, drawing something. A small boy, wearing a long overcoat, closed by the end of his torso with a bow tie, golden lines coming from the bottom of his eyes and white with golden flat-topped hat, appeared and punched the enemy stand, making him stumble back. Prosciutto felt the hit and felt how a little bit of blood fell from his lip. No way, he asked himself. Only another stand can do actual damage to another stand. Fuck, he cursed, shooting at Kirishima and Todoroki that blocked. He called the Grateful Death at his side. He will finish this too quickly, before going to that blonde prick. "Excuse me, but I am your opponent here," Manama said with an arrogant smirk, leaning on the doorframe, next to him. Floating by his side was the small stand. "Now show me your power," Manama ordered as the stand flew past the Grateful Death and stood face to face with Prosciutto, and the stand touched them and the face of Prosciutto turned into a book. Pages opening and unfurling. The stand looked at his master, and made a gesture for him to write. Manama nodded, grabbed a pen and wrote on the pages of Prosciutto's face, "Sleep." He closed the book and Prosciutto's eyes rolled back into his skull, the Grateful Death disappeared and the villain passed out in sleep on the floor. Manama laughed as the stand made a bow. "So, how does it feels that two of the best class were useless?" he mocked as he continued laughing and Kirishima sighed. Anyway, what's its name, he asked, pointing at the strand. Manama rubbed his chin for a few moments before smirking. Simple. Heaven's Door.